Hey, well, this is Zacchaeus with another live word of the day. Yes, yes, and thanks for tuning in. Right now, I want to share a news coming out of New York City about 2 months ago, but it's relevant even now. Check this out.
If your lease is up or if you are looking for an apartment in New York City, the average monthly rent has jumped to a record high of nearly $5,600. Yep. 5600 per month. That is a far cry from when landlords lowered rents during the pandemic. Here's Eyewitness News reporter Morgan Norwood. If there's one thing New Yorkers can unite on, it's the unforgiving cost of living.
Yeah, the rent here is absolutely crazy. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
And the rent's too damn high. Not sustainable for the city.
Jimmy
And look, it's
McMillan.
only getting higher. In fact, a new report by Douglas Elliman and Miller Samuel found that rents in Manhattan continued to skyrocket, with July seeing an average rental rate of nearly $5,600. Renters in Hell's Kitchen could relate to the hike. In fact, the average price there, nearly $4,400 per month.
I used to live in 49th Street, literally right here, and I had to move out because they raised my rent like 700. Yeah.
$700.
Yeah.
The aftermath of the pandemic, coupled with inflation and rising interest rates, continued to lash the rental and real estate market.
What the pandemic did to the real estate market, whether we're talking about purchases or rentals, and not just New York City, but nationwide, it is massively distorted results, the rules of thumb.
Here's an example. Census data shows the population fell slightly by 5.3% from April 2020 to July 2022. Well, that's when folks were working from home during the pandemic and moved to other states with lower cost of living. The supply they left behind technically is still there and would normally translate into lower prices.
It's not a matter of supply like it is in the purchase market. There's inventory is actually rising. It's the fact, I think, that people are reach their affordability threshold. They can't go much farther.
That leaves inflation. As everything else becomes more expensive, it's harder for renters to stay afloat. So while yes, typically what goes up must come down, these hikes are sticking around.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is very serious, very very serious because the thing is that I right now don't know anybody in my circle, in my family, in my circle, that can live in Manhattan, in New York City. Maybe around the major other boroughs like Staten Island, Brooklyn, Queens. Even that's even high. There's rental property in Brooklyn for $4,400. I have a loved one that's paying $1,500 for a room, not even a apartment, a room. $1,500 for a room per month. So it what's gonna happen is an exodus been going on in New York City, and a lot of people are continuing to leave. As you can see in Eyewitness News, it says that it's sticking there for a while. Yes, there's inflation going on. Yes, the cost of living is extremely high, and more people are trying to get out the city, get out the major cities like New York City, Florida, California, Hawaii, and they're leaving. They're leaving because it's just too high. The what you're getting paid is not enough. Even people with degrees. Listen, degree people say, "Oh, you gotta get your college degree." Education is important, but we're living in a day and age like it's just a piece of paper of accomplishment. We're living in a day and age like you can have a master's, an MBA, and you just can't afford the rent. You gotta be well off and wealthy. Only the 1% that can afford the rent. Only the 1%. And it's very sad to see that because of the inflation, because of other things, the rent will not go down. So we're gonna have to pool our own resources, and we're gonna have to trust God, and we're gonna have to walk in his footsteps. to leave the major cities and move to other places. Like there's places like I mentioned before in another video, like North Carolina. There's places in America where you can live and where the rent is not so high, but you can live. It's not a popular city, but you can live and you can basically grow crops and be resourceful. Be resourceful. It's coming to that point. People are trying to live in their RVs. People are trying to do other things to get away from the. It's going to become is as you can see. Um, Er- Mayor Eric Adams was mentioning about the destruction of New York City, and Kathy Hochul said, "No, we're not going to stop." The latest news is Kathy Hochul says she's not going to stop the budget cut of the police because obviously you need the NYPD, obviously you need the police presence, but other jobs will be cut and unbearable. $5,600 for rent. $5,600 for rent, and that's the going prices for apartments in New York City. $3,000 in some certain boroughs. Brooklyn, I've seen an apartment for 4,400. 3,000. I'm seeing apartments for 2,450. Just one bedroom apartments, and it's really sad. A room in New York City is like 16 to 1,400, and it's really rough. People are scraping to get by. People are struggling, and it's getting overwhelming. Like what Jimmy McMillan said about in 2010. In 2010, the rent is too damn high, and it is high, too high, where you cannot just afford it. Have friends that moved out of here, moved out, went to other cities, able to buy a home, able to buy a car, and live comfortably. As long as you're not in the major cities. And even those cities, some of those cities like Dallas or Houston is getting, well, especially Dallas, it's getting a little expensive. It's coming to a point where folks is saying goodbye. Because it was a time, it was a time when you was able to come to America. And there used to be a lot of opportunity and dreams, but now people are reconsidering because they gotta work hard to the bone. They gotta work hard, they gotta struggle, and they gotta work 2-3 jobs just to keep on ground level. 2-3 jobs just to and get other side of hustles. This is why it's no time to splurge your money. This is the best time right now to invest in assets. Invest in your Roth IRA, invest in your Roth IRA, build up your Roth IRA, build up just invest in stocks, invest in get into a business that's lucrative, that can make you money. And also have an emergency fund, which is very important. Try to establish emergency. I know saving is tough. It's a challenge for a lot of us because we're not getting paid enough. But if you can save at least $20 every time you get paid, that's better than saving nothing. That's better than saving nothing. Because at least it'll be, you never know, that very thing that you save, that very money that you save, because we all have oops days every now and then. We all have days where we hit a bump in the road and now we have no emergency fund, no cushion. So make sure that if you're married, you and your spouse have an emergency fund. Or if you're single, try practicing to save at least a little bit of money to have an emergency fund, because you never know, folks. There's oops days and there's bumps on the roads, and you never know you never know what the next day may bring. You never know what the next day may bring. So always have an emergency fund, and if you have a little money on you, when you get the income tax season is coming after Christmas, so try to take that money, the income tax money, and invest in assets that can make you money. Because It's gonna come a time, and it's gonna come a time where our bodies won't be able to work anymore, and we need to have an income. I'm speaking to myself. I'm speaking to others too. We need to have an income for when we get old that we can rely on. And I never used to think like this. I was splurging money, spending money on musical managers, spending big money on maxing out credit cards. I never used to think like this. But as I get older, I gain more knowledge and I got more wiser. And it's hard. Listen, let me say the record in New York City when it comes to rent, going back to the rent, is skyrocket high. And it's come to a point where people are saving up their money and they're going elsewhere. Saving up their money and they're going elsewhere. You have to do it because it's hard to live in a city. It's hard to live in a city where you're scraping just to get by. You got to work 2-3 jobs just to keep above water. And if you trust God today and you seek his face and you walk in his footsteps, he will guide you and direct you and he'll protect you and your family. And when you trust him and you just ask him for guidance, pray over your family, ask him, and when you pray and ask the Lord, Lord, can you help me with your finances? He will direct you, he'll whisper to you, and he'll direct you on what to do. But if you don't know Jesus tonight, I'm going into if you don't know Jesus tonight, ask him into your life. Ask him into your life. Right now, a lot of us are struggling financially. A lot of us are scraping this to get by. A lot of us are living check to check. A lot of us are just barely making our bills, struggling with our families. We just got to ask God for wisdom and how to move. And we got to ask God to guide us in these tough times. Well, the live word today is coming out of Philippians chapter 4, verses 19. When you have faith in Jesus and live righteously, God will provide us a glorious life in his name. A glorious life in his name. And folks, that's why I keep my head above water, because I'm trusting and I'm walking in the Lord. And you can do the same. And if you don't know the Lord tonight, with depression going up, people are losing their minds because of cost of living. Families are bickering over finances. And if you don't know Jesus tonight, and if you want him to come into your life, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, thou shalt be saved. So seek his face right now. Say, Jesus, I'm a sinner. Jesus, I believe that you died on the cross for me. I believe that you rose from the dead. And I believe, Jesus, that you're a way maker and that you're here to deliver me from my bondage of sin and set me free. If you believe tonight, then you are saved. We're living in a time where it's struggling. Amen. 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 And we're living in a time where a lot of our folks are financially struggling. And it's good to know that you have Jesus on your side. It's good to know. It's good to know that he's a way maker. And if you pray and you ask him for guidance, he will guide you. But this is Zacchaeus with another live word of the day. God bless and be safe out there. And if you like what I shared, smash the like button. Also, you can subscribe to my channel, Zacchaeus Gospel. I have more coming. Peace and blessings. And be safe out there.